Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a great start to BTTS. So I'm very keen to share some practical AI use cases with you today. By the way, that's an AI-generated image right there, and it took me just under a minute to create that. Stuart's already introduced me, but just a quick one here, just to keep it brief. I've been in the digital media and advertising space for over 15 years now, and during this time, I've led media campaigns for a variety of travel, tourism, and hospitality brands, including British Airways, Experience Oxfordshire. Now, while digital marketing remains a core service of our agency, we have had to adapt significantly to both the challenges and the opportunities that AI brings. That's why we've adapted ourselves to become an AI-forward agency that helps not just with marketing, but driving real growth for businesses through strategic use of AI. 3 years ago, I had no idea I would be talking about AI at industry events or training businesses or implementing AI solutions. But anyways, that's enough about me. Let's find out a bit about you, and particularly how you use AI. So, can I have a show of hands of how many of you use an AI tool regularly in a business context? Okay. And how many of you are actively engaged in implementing AI as a project in your company? All right. And if I may sneak in another question, how many of you use a paid version of an AI tool? All right. It's been a year since I was last here, so I was hoping to see more hands go up. I think they have. Right. Now, before we dive into practical use cases, I want to take a couple of minutes to highlight the two main approaches to using generative AI for businesses. Now, this is really important to understand because it paints a picture of where you are and where you could be along your AI journey. The first approach is the default approach that is starting with AI assistant tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, you got Claude, Copilot, where you complete one task at a time. And that means just manually inputting a request and receiving a response. And all that's great for content creation, drafting emails, blogs, whatever. There's no integration required. You just type and get instant results. And these are pre-trained models. And by pre-trained, I mean that they've been trained on a large data set and therefore can handle pretty much any general query you throw at it. Think of the training of a data set as a compressed version of the internet when the product was launched. And these are available as chatbots, and you got them on your mobile apps and all that. So that's your AI assistance. That's one way of using AI. Now, the other way is through using generative AI as part of an automated workflow, allowing it to handle specific jobs in the background by integrating it with your existing systems, whether it's your CRM system, your booking system, or any kind of system you use. Now, you can even go a step further to train your own models to perform specific tasks that a generic AI assistant tool like ChatGPT can't do. And it's important to understand this distinction because if you truly want AI to make a positive impact to your revenue, you must move beyond casual usage of AI assistants to a more structured approach using workflows and automation. So with that being said, let's dive into some use cases. The first use case I'm going to show you is how group travel organizers can manage incoming inquiries or requests for quotes using AI. Now, receiving a high volume of inquiries, especially during peak seasons, is fantastic for the business, but it can become very time-consuming and to handle multiple requests efficiently. As a GTO, there are several tasks you must perform to send out a proposal, but for the purpose of this use case, we're focusing only on evaluating incoming inquiries and formulating a response for every such inquiry. Now, there are different ways you can use AI to solve a problem like this, but I'm going to show you how to use a custom GPT to implement this use case. Oops. So, before we generate a quote, we need to ensure that the request has all the required details. Let's say you receive an email like the one here. The first thing you want to do is to ensure it has all the relevant information. You need to prepare the quote. You also need to assess if it's suitable and feasible for your business and if you want to proceed with it. And if it's a good or valid inquiry, you want to acknowledge it and clarify any details. Now, how many of you have used the custom GPT feature within ChatGPT here? Anyone? Nope. Okay, for those who haven't, which is pretty much all of you, a custom GPT is like a personalized AI assistant that you can train to perform specific tasks exactly the way you want. And the key difference between regular AI and a custom GPT is that you get to give it your own instructions. And if you're familiar with the ChatGPT interface, you will see a link called Explore GPTs on the left pane. And once you click it, it takes you to the homepage, to the GPT marketplace, from where you click on the Create button there. Now, over the next few slides, I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough of how to configure a custom GPT. So, you first start by giving it a name and a brief description. Next, you will define the instructions, and this is where we tell the AI exactly how to process an inquiry. And we look at that in more detail on the next slide. And then you got conversation starters. They're optional. Just think of them as ready-made prompts for frequently used tasks that are displayed as buttons on your custom GPT. And then we have the knowledge bit, which is quite important because the instructions tell the GPT how it must act and what it must do, but the knowledge section is a place where you can add files for your GPT to reference. You may have your pricing sheet, or you may have any data that you want it to refer to. That's what you do in the knowledge section. Oops. And lastly, there's a feature called capabilities for custom GPTs, where these are just you're just allowing it to use these features. For example, should it be allowed to browse the web, or should it be allowed to create images, or read Canvas, or do analysis? I normally have mine most of the time all checked. So let's just do that. Now, let's take a closer look at the instructions. This is the equivalent of writing code for software. It's also your chance to be a software developer if you've never been one. So we start by defining its role, and it's usually a good idea to give it a role. And in this case, we're saying this AI will be an expert assistant designed specifically for group travel organizers, and you can make it more detailed as well. And then I like to break down the instructions into meaningful parts so the flow is easy to understand. So in the steps below, first we're giving it clear instructions on what to look for and how to determine what makes an inquiry complete in terms of required information. Now I'm just going to play a video here, and I hope it doesn't glitch on me. Oops, it did. I'm going to go back. Right. So then in step 2, we're asking it to, I'm going to pause it. We're asking it to assess if the received information is complete, if there are any issues with this inquiry. Example, it could be could have an unrealistic budget, or could be just a spammy email, and then confirming if the inquiry is valid. Then in step 3, we're adding some logic by saying, if all seems good within the email, confirm that it's a good inquiry, and draft an acknowledgement response. And then step 4 is about telling it to draft a professional email response and giving it some guidelines on how to draft an email for each outcome. And finally, in step 5, we're just specifying the tone and the style of communication we'd like to use, and we're also giving it an example of an email for it to use as a guide. So those are all the instructions that we're going to feed into ChatGPT's custom GPT. And moving on to the next slide. So this is what it looks like when you finish creating a custom GPT. It just looks like a regular ChatGPT interface, but this is your own GPT, and it's trained on the instructions you gave it. And just a note here, GPTs can be private, meaning when you publish a GPT, you can publish it as a private one, meaning that nobody else can see it other than you. And then you can also share it with colleagues with a link, or you can even publish it to the GPT marketplace, which you wouldn't want to do for something like this. Now let's see this GPT in action. I begin by hitting the Evaluate an Inquiry button to kick off the process. Remember, this is what we added in the conversation starters at the beginning. I'm just going to play the video now. So it then asked me to provide the details of the quote for evaluation, and I paste the exact email we received into it. So I've just copied in the email into the chat window, and I'm going to paste it now. There we go. And then it begins evaluating the inquiry, and it tells me it's a valid and well-structured inquiry. It goes on to list all the information it found complete, and then it's also highlighted where minor clarification is required. And then it tells me it's a suitable quote to proceed, and then it goes on to draft a response email based on the guidelines we gave it. And there you go. So this whole process took around 30 minutes. It only took 30 minutes to set up. Now, there are hundreds of use cases for a custom GPT. And as you can see, it's very easy to set up. And within our agency, we use a variety of custom GPTs for a multitude of tasks. For example, we have a GPT for every one of our clients, and we use it. It is fully trained in our clients' brand values, their tone of voice, details about their campaigns, and all of that. And it really helps in creating a new campaign or a campaign strategy and all of that. Now, using a custom GPT is still an example of using a personal assistant. You still have to do these things one step at a time. So, an automated version of this could look like the automation would automatically scan your emails, or you just label them, and it would automatically draft every such inquiry's response and keep it there ready and waiting for you to review and to send. Now, the next use case I'm about to show you is about AI-driven pricing optimization for coach tour operators. Now, I chose this use case because pricing and profitability is a key part of any business. not just coach tour operators. And this is where AI can generate real opportunities for revenue growth. So what kind of insights can AI give you? It can give you industry trends for your product or service, how your competitors are pricing. You can explore dynamic pricing or seasonal pricing, off-peak and peak pricing, promotions, deals, and what kind of tools can you use to get such insights? Well, you can build a simple custom GPT like the one you just saw, which could handle basic pricing analysis, or you can build an automated workflow, again, that'll check things like competitor pricing or fuel costs, up-to-date fuel costs and things like that. Or you can simply craft a pricing strategy using just plain and simple research using AI. And AI-driven research tools will pleasantly surprise you of what they're capable of. And that's what I'm about to show you next. So using ChatGPT's new deep research feature, I created a detailed report for this presentation on the pricing and profitability of coach tour operators. Now, I'm not a coach tour operator. I didn't know anything about pricing. And a person like me can just go on ChatGPT, use deep research, and get this kind of insight, which I'm about to show you now. So on the left is a prompt that I gave it. As you can see, it's really simple. And then I'm going to play a video for you. And I appreciate it scrolling really fast. But in just 6 minutes, I had a 20-page report on pricing and profitability of UK coach tour operators, packed with useful insights, stats, and plenty of real-life examples. Now, I appreciate it's really hard to see the full report scrolling fast on the slide. So in the next slide, I extracted the main topics. This is a much better view, and hopefully you can see the text here. So as you can see, the report is detailed. It contains key insights on profitability, cost management, pricing models, external market influences, and so much more. I can't stress how valuable this feature is. I use deep research all the time, and it's available only on the paid version of ChatGPT. So I would highly recommend it if you wanted to do a deep research on pretty much any topic. And for those of you, if anybody wants a copy of this report, feel free to reach out to me. Now, beyond deep research, which pulls data from the internet, you can also give AI your own data to gain insights. By simply uploading any form of sales and pricing data, you can identify trends, make pricing adjustments, and more. I just asked ChatGPT to create some demo data, and this is what it created for me. And every business has a wealth of data just sitting around in spreadsheets, documents, reports, and massive amounts of historical data in their systems. All you have to do is just collate this data and just feed it into ChatGPT. Now, I'm going to move on to the next slide where I'm going to show you, I've just uploaded the document, the spreadsheet we saw earlier, and which had about 500 rows of information, of sales data. And my first prompt is, based on the attached spreadsheet, can you identify any seasonal pricing trends? And I'm going to play the video again. And then, as soon as I did that, it displayed a nice-looking chart showing average price per passenger per month, and it's highlighted some key observations. Oops, scrolling too fast. It's highlighted some key observations. Then my next query was, which routes had the highest revenue per trip? And it broke down the results in a table again. And then routes where our pricing is, and then I asked it another query, what are the routes where our pricing is significantly higher or lower compared to the industry average? And once again, I got all that information in a table. I then proceeded to ask what pricing adjustments should I consider to maximize revenue, and it's given me its recommendations. So, as you can see here, all of this just happens in a matter of seconds. All you need is a spreadsheet or any data, and the good thing is, it doesn't have to be a spreadsheet all the time. You can, if you have a Word document, a PDF, even images. And here are some more example questions you can ask of that data. For example, which months had the highest and lowest average ticket prices, or can you spot any price trends that suggest we are underpricing or overpricing some routes? Loads of questions here, anything you can ask. And if you're stuck for inspiration on how to query your data, just ask ChatGPT to give you some ideas. But again, you need to ensure that the information that you're asking for exists in the documents that you're uploading. Now, there are many other use cases I would have loved to demonstrate today, but this is all I could fit within a 20-minute talk. And here's a few more that you can try. You can ask ChatGPT to compare quotes from different suppliers and vendors. And there's the usual marketing and content creation use cases, which is the most common application of AI. And I didn't show that today because I'm sure most of you use ChatGPT to draft an email or to write content. And again, if you're a tour operator, you obviously use it to draft itineraries and all of that. So now, for my last few slides, I'm just going to share some examples of how businesses are actually using it. TUI has rolled out AI at scale. It deployed over 400 AI assistants to thousands of its employees, handling tasks like data analysis, drafting content, and just automating routine work. Their UK ski holiday team cut content writing tasks by 80%, taking a 2 to 3 hour job down to just 20 to 30 minutes. And then we have rail bookers, and they use AI to analyze travel data like search trends or answering and bookings, to identify emerging destination trends and understand what drives demand. The good news for you is that you don't have to be as big as these to gain all the efficiencies. From a cost perspective, just a simple but effective AI tools are well within any company's reach. They only cost $20 a month. And as you can see from Railbooker's AI adoption, they started as a trial, but quickly gained traction. And for my final slide, I'm going to shift the focus on how to move forward and leave you with some tips on adopting AI in a more structured way. Now, most businesses start by casually experimenting here with AI, trying ChatGPT here and there, maybe using it for email, generating a bit of content, and all that's fine. At first, it's fine, but the problem is many businesses remain stuck in this phase forever, and they don't measure success, don't plan for ROI, and they never take the next step to scale AI for real business impact. So, my key tips over here are just start pilot projects. It's not really that hard. Like Railbookers did, just pick a specific business challenge, whatever that challenge is, whether it's price optimization or a quote request, itinerary generation, and test it in a focused way. Measure the impact, refine the approach, and then think about scaling up. Now, proper training is essential to get the most out of AI tools rather than just scratching the surface, So training is always important. And if you have an AI champion within your team, that's great. But if you don't have anyone leading AI in your company, then you should consider just getting external guidance, whether it's consultants, vendors, industry peers. And finally, just think long term. AI adoption isn't a one-time switch. It's just you have to keep trialing it. You have to start. You can start small, get quick wins, and then just think about scaling it strategically over time. And that's all from me today. Thank you.
I think I'll just ask a question, if I may, and that is how it's quite a jump from looking at that, and you go through it very quickly because you're very used to it, and it's fine. But I guess for most of us, moving from where we are to going anywhere near one of those bigger projects, what sort of time scale does it take to learn to do that? Because although the process is quick once you've got it set up, establishing it in the first place must take a bit of time.
Yeah, I advise normally to start with the 30, 60, 90 kind of a plan, Coming up with a use case is the first step, Just identify one pain point, and that doesn't take time. You already have pain points in the company. Once you've identified that, like I said, start small. You could get on your way to a pilot project in about a couple of weeks, and then all you have to do is test it out and against a predefined set of criteria, and just monitor to see how well are you getting in terms of gaining efficiencies and benefits from that. There's a lot of tweaking, there's a lot of trial and error, but that's what those first, I would say 3 months is all you need to get on your way. By the end of 3 months, you would know what's working and what's not.
So having the confidence to do that, or to have the confidence in the results, there's that period when you're going to go, I'll just do that manually as well to see where it's going. But after that, of course, assuming if you get that confidence, you can move forward.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the bit I was saying about AI assistance. People are already using that. All that's required is just formalize the process. Instead of just randomly firing up ChatGPT to write emails every day, just think about how much time it's actually taken you. And if you're doing it consistently, if you're spending a good number of hours every day, measure it. If after you put your process in, how much has it saved you?
Okay. I think we'll probably call that a day then for now. Manu, that was absolutely magnificent. Exactly what we wanted to hear this year. Moved us on from last year. Let's see how many more hands go up next year. But for now, can you thank Manu in the usual way? Thank you very much.
Thank you.